His rolls are always low. I've never seen him high. His dice are never cold. He's got really hot snake eyes. He'll turn the images on you. You won't pass a check twice. It's cold as east front snow. He's got really hot snake eyes. And they'll break you, they'll crit hit you. They're the bones that will defeat you. They're atrocious, 'cause he always gets the rolls that make the stacks crush. God, why do I always roll so high? He's got really hot snake eyes. You like your +3 stone, the place to stand and fight. But all you do is moan. He's got really hot snake eyes. He'll roll a one-shot on you. Roll those wicked dice until you give up too. He's got really hot snake eyes. They'll DM you when he plays you. Trash your plan with the dice he loaned you. They're ferocious, 'cause he always gets the rolls that make the stacks crush. All the boys think it's just fine to really get hot snake eyes. And they'll break you, they'll crit hit you. They're the bones that will defeat you. They're atrocious, 'cause he always gets the rolls that make the stacks crush. All the boys think it's just fine to get really hot snake eyes.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, and welcome to the one and only podcast on the net dedicated 100% to
The greatest game in the world.
Advanced
Squad leader.
You.
I after 356 episodes, 365, 365, I don't have to read that opening anymore.
No, it's nice to not have to. You just have it memorized now.
I finally have it memorized.
And Jeff, with my haircut, see, I kept the long beard and I cut the hair short, and then I had that done, and then I went to feed my starving children and wore the hairnets. And so for the whole time I felt like I had hair again. It was only been hours after the haircut. And then I went to the restroom and looked and washed my hands, and then took off my hairnets to feed my starving children, and saw myself like this.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, like I shocked myself. Like, because the hairnets, I had two on, because when you go in the back room, you get to put on another colored one. It felt like the hair.
Yeah.
And so I forgot I had shaved the head to almost nothing.
Yeah. Well, you look good.
I looked in the mirror.
Looks good. But yeah, I can imagine it's shocking. I have one of my clients is in the food creation. They make crackers.
Oh, yes.
And so
this like
I
10 years
drive
ago.
up there and I have to put on
Oh, beard
the
mask.
beard mask, the headgear, the beard mask, and everything, and it's very odd. I'm always afraid people are looking at me because who wouldn't? I'm so delightful.
Well, you certainly are, but I don't think the beard net has a lot to do with
Probably,
it.
yeah, probably not. Anyway, we are the two half squads, and
We
this
are.
is the only podcast dedicated. I mean, doggone it, I'm going to go out on a limb and say 100%.
Very, very close. But now I wanted to talk about TV shows before.
Oh, okay. Before we do the opening, even.
Yeah, I watched the Eternaut, El Eternauta.
That's a show.
It's on Netflix, and it's like the snow. It's end of the world stuff. The snow comes down,
Ah, okay.
and people die in the snow.
Is
It's
it
like some radioactive fallout.
American or is it foreign?
It's Peruvian. Now,
Oh.
of course, everyone will write in, correct me. That's fine. Go ahead. That's fine. Go ahead and write in and
Yeah.
correct me, audience. I don't care.
Send your hate mail.
Yes, because just like the last show, this show, we have shocking news for you. This is shocking.
Oh, this is going to be
shocking.
huge.
And so,
Roll the clip.
yes.
No, we'll do that later.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it was pretty good, but again, that season ends and you got to wait 3 years. And so we were talking about Wheel of Time with Mike Lemke at breakfast when you
Yes.
were not there.
Yep.
And if it's 3 years between episodes, I said to Mike, I said, well, it's season 3. I like Wheel of Time. You do. And you read the books, Mike. How many books? He goes, 10 or 11 or something. And
Yeah.
I said, well, what are they going to be doing? I heard somewhere they're talking about how to approach the end of the series kind of thing. He goes, well, yeah, that's what they're talking about. And he goes, like, it won't matter to us. I'm like, what do you mean? Oh, wait, 3 years to produce an episode, 10 years,
Oh,
10 books.
you're not going to say it. Don't say it. You're going to say it, aren't you?
We'll be 121 years old.
There we go. Okay. I was worried there that maybe we wouldn't make it to the end.
No, we'll be 121.
Yeah.
When they finish the
Okay.
series. So, yeah. But anyway, Eternauta, it's fine. I like the end of the world stuff. And then, yeah. So anyway, that's all.
Okay.
Wheel of Time we like a lot.
Now we needed to get a segue somehow into
Do you remember who? Scott Mullins.
Scott Mullins. We've got an interview with Scott Mullins. Well, you have an interview with Scott Mullins, you lucky dog.
Yes, that is true. Look how that has just been, I am the lucky one.
Yeah.
And here's the segue. I'll change my background to the Grumble Jones pack video.
Oh, yes.
Image. And there's the segue. Right.
Oh, there it is.
Let's go hear what Scott has to say.
Okay.
Lately, what he's been doing lately.
All right.
Yeah, and I grew a beard just to be in synchronicity with you.
I was talking to Moreski, and part of our conversation, I think, was not before we hit record. Beards are really in,
Apparently,
right? Even amongst like the young people, right? Have you noticed that?
I have.
Like I look around church, and that's in suburban Chicago area, and lots of facial hair. And
I did it because I'm lazy. I'm tired of shaving.
Well, it is easier,
Just
isn't it?
Sick of it.
And then I get the old man shave. Where
I gotta do that.
I can't get here anymore. There's just hairs growing.
Yep.
Well, listeners, it's Dave still on the road at where am I at?
Kansas City March Madness.
That's where I'm at. What year is it, Scott?
2025.
2025. And this is Scott Mullins, otherwise known as Grumble Jones, who was on the show before. We mostly talked about your work on the website, right?
Yeah, it was a lot about the blog, and we talked a lot about, we talked about COVID, how COVID had changed things.
Oh, we did.
Right in the middle of COVID.
Oh, it was. Okay.
And it was a really good interview. And part of the background and history of the things that brought me into the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we are doing an update. So, Scott, I know on your blog, was the last really funny, cool post the scary Bigfoot?
Razin Sasquatch.
Okay, right. What's that one?
Which actually has been played.
Okay.
And there's a whole write-up on it. I mean, a long one on the Game Squad forum.
Okay.
And they had the most fun. It was crazy because I thought it was not going to be a great scenario, but they had a hoot playing that.
Okay. Send us the link to that. We'd like to post
I
that,
will.
but I still can't get over your graphics. So again, I looked last night. I was trying to remember everyone we interviewed that might be here, so I don't act like an idiot. Like, hi, I'm just meeting you, and yeah, just the graphics with those scary creatures were moving around, or was that
behind the
was that-
trees.
yeah.
Yeah. The
And
Heroes
then
of Hollis.
Hollis, and so I actually kind of thought I was coming to Hollis today, so I was expecting to be on the map.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
And then I realized, well, I'm going to a hotel. This is not where Scott made the scenarios. And weren't those the zombie ones?
Yep. That was a zombie one. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you guys played that at least twice.
Dave Timonen and I did.
And Timonen had the spy
Yes.
that got a flamethrower, as I remember.
Right. So I guess I'm recommending to listeners, you need a fun break from the seriousness that can be ASL. So you got to check out Scott's blogs again and post and get the scenarios that are there that are just as creative as anything I've seen and entertaining.
They're pretty wild. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm highly recommending that. So,
and I am convinced, Dave, that the Where Half Squads Dare maps, that those maps are probably the most scarce ASL item out there.
so
Because there's only 5 of them.
I might have something highly valuable.
And you have one.
We do. So we'll try to get to those. I'll work on Jeff for that. So yeah, I still have that for sure. Nothing leaves my house that comes in ASL. So
now I would tell you, we did a Grumbler event at my house in September last year.
What's a Grumbler event?
It's basically an in-house tournament. It was an invitational to a bunch of the guys from KC. Paul Works, Dave Moreski, and Dan Best all came down, and spouses were part of it. So we would game in the morning, go to lunch with everybody, and then we would game again in the afternoon. But we did a special award for the cable car fight from Where the Two Half Squads Dare.
Okay.
And Paul Works won. So I was one of the Germans climbing up the side. Dan Best was the other. And Paul was Richard Burton's character on top of the cable car. And he pushed both of us off the cable car for the win.
He did not mention that to me when we interviewed him. Darn him. I'll have to get him back on.
It was a great time. A lot of fun.
See, that's fun, folks. And the zombie thing, searching. Yeah. Anyway, what might the next one be? Do you know? These only come out at Halloween.
Well, it's only on Halloween that we do the special one, and there is one in works. It's called the Song of Medusa, is in works for this year, for 2025. And all I will tell you is Rick is working on 2 special maps: an above ground and a below ground map.
And you could use these for your D&D campaigns too.
You absolutely, and that's where this all comes from. D&D are way back, but it takes place in Greece, 1944. Gives you kind of an idea of what's going to happen. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
It'll be fun.
Rick's
maps are so great, and I'm really looking forward to what he comes up with. So
amazing. So all right, we're looking forward to that for sure. And then in your personal life, are things going okay? You're working still? Or
the biggest change for us, we have a grandson, and he was living in Quincy, Illinois, and we wanted to get them closer to us. So in February, we moved everybody to Tulsa. So I've got my daughter and grandson in Tulsa, and that's just, I can't tell you how great that is.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all of us, we're talking about this as we've aged and as the hobby ages. We're all grandparents now,
Well, not me, but
well, yours is coming.
Maybe. We had our first engagement.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. I expect in 5 years from now, at least.
Probably.
It'll be 1 or 2 grandkids.
Yeah.
So, and you'll love it. It's absolutely
great.
great.
I think I will.
It's just great.
I was tempted to start suddenly. I don't know, when I turned 60, I think I wanted to pat the toddlers at church on the head randomly because they're cute.
Yep.
And my son had to say, Dad,
can't do that. Can't do that.
That's creeper. You'll be a creeper.
Yeah.
I'm not a creeper. It's me. Come on. I'm an old guy. Hey, little toddler, you're cute.
Yeah. I turned 60 in January, and it's I don't feel 60 at all.
Well, that's good.
But you start to realize, in the next 5 to 7 years, hopefully I can retire and play more ASL than I already do. Which would be a challenge. Dan Bess and I are trying to play 1,000 games before he goes on his hike. He's going to walk, I think, the PCT in 2027.
Oh, the PCT. That is the
Pacific Crest Trail.
Yes.
Yep.
Where does that run through?
It's in California. It runs up the Sierra Nevadas. I think if somebody will watch it, will say, no, it's this, that, or the other. But it's the one that Julian Sands, the actor, died last year or 2 years ago.
Okay.
So
yeah.
it's a fairly heavily traveled trail. It's much longer than the AT. So, but I don't know if it's as long as the Continental Divide. I think that one's a little bit longer. But the goal of hitting 1,000, we're still about 300 short of that. We're like around 700 something right now. So we're having to play 4 games every weekend. And last year we did 166. And
Games in the year?
yeah, we played 166 games, and all of them,
Yeah.
cardboard via Skype. And I got to tell you, you don't really burn out so much, but you do get exhausted. That's a lot of ASL. And I always say you can't play too much ASL, but maybe you could get real close.
You can. I think I'm on game 3,000.
Oh yeah, you were 1,500 a while ago, so you must be.
Shoot, I gotta.
Because I want to say, old podcast, you said 1,500.
Yeah, I think it's, and I've slowed down on getting them done, especially like Dave and I are doing the Hungary Festung Budapest.
Yeah,
larger, and then we chat. We just talk for an hour before we start.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's only every Tuesday.
Yeah.
Some we miss for vacation.
So you get like a couple turns in, and
so it's gonna be a long time to get a game in. But I think I was sitting at 3,000. I'll make a big announcement right here.
Let's see what that looks like.
Put it on the YouTube. I'll run a banner.
So, I mean, we're trying to, we track a percentage of the scenarios we own and we've played. So right now I've owned like 4,000, because the ASL Archive will tell you everything that you own if you log all of that data. And I have played 22% of what I own. So again, I can't live long enough to play all of it.
No.
And there's more stuff all the time.
Yes. Yes. So wait, the ASL Archive, if you have a login, I go in just to look at the roar or at the maps.
Yeah, but if you log in, you can do all your publications.
That I would put in what I own?
Yep, you put everything you own. And what it also helps you do is then when you go and you record, it'll show you everything you've played in that publication, how many times you may have played it, and you can then develop your record. How good am I, like Hasmo? Hasmo scenarios, I don't win. I usually lose Hasmo. I've lost all the covered, but then I do well in some rally points and square pumps. And it's interesting information when you look at that. I created a whole big spreadsheet that's got all the data that I download from that, and then bring in some of the roar. And you can do filters in Excel, right, that allow you slicers. So I can look at how often do I win, which nationality do I win, and what I came up with is I win as the French. My best record is with the French, which is crazy.
Probably one of the few.
Who would have thought you're going to win with the French? But that's who I win with. My worst is the Russians. So if you were going to play me in a tournament, you want me to be attacking, because I only win 43% of the time as an attacker. And I only win 40% of the time as the Russians. So you want me attacking as a Russian, because I'm going to lose.
For sure. I can note of that. Now, if I log in my victories, which I was meant to go into Roar and do all the thousands of games, just sit down for weeks at a time, a couple hours in a week, and just kind of click away. Have they connected the two records? No.
They have. What you could do is, if you maybe email Dave Ramsey and ask Dave, hey, here's all my rule record. I think he can import all that. I want to say that's what they did at one time for everybody.
Okay.
And the only downside you have is JDev has not been updating. He's not current with all the new products out there. He's behind. I don't know how far behind, but he's a little bit behind.
That's because
the archive is update.
Yeah, instead of one product a year, we're getting two giant ones.
So many.
And lots of little.
North Texas just had a new pack. I just got that. Hasmo's new pack.
I don't have
quick
that.
6, 7.
Don't have that.
And then the March Madness pack, which has to be.
I got that.
So I mean, it's a great thing, because you guys made a joke about it when we were talking. The old podcast, you were always like, you walk into the store and the guy, we have a Kota Bushido,
Yeah.
And now it feels like we're almost overwhelmed.
And even our own show, I was saying earlier to someone that I can't remember the titles of the shows anymore. I'm scrolling through going,
episode 360, man.
Yeah, well, I used to, in the scenario titles, I used to kind of recognize them all and know where they came from. And now it's, I can't, is that a WO or is that an AP or is that a Hasmo or whatever?
Now I'm going to assume you knew I was the guy that called the Russian guy. I called twice as That you all figured out that was
we
me?
did, but we originally thought, I think we thought that was a guy named Morocco, Matt,
Possibly, yeah.
and a guy named Matt. Now you didn't send the funny letters. That was Dennis Donovan.
Right. I didn't do the letters.
Okay.
I just called in and said
were
I
the
was calling
Russian.
you from
Yeah.
Red Barricades.
Yes. Yeah. We need more listeners. We need a little more of that. People are sloughing off. We used to get those letters from Dennis or from Matt and Morocco, and they would, and then the
Well,
call
and
in.
Dennis has given you so much great music.
Well, that's been amazing, hasn't it?
I mean, it's been like one almost every episode.
Yeah, and I think there's still 3 to do. I'll probably have a new one soon. So, and we've been revisiting the old ones because now we're on YouTube. We want people to be able to see it, and people who weren't with us earlier can now get exposed to that. So,
Well, I remember when we talked, I was so glad you went past 200. And I hope you guys are. I mean, you feel like you're really enthusiastic about it.
I'm pushing for 400, so we'll see.
Yeah.
And it'll come down to health. But
don't take my 2 half squats away. Man.
well, we're just
love it.
really glad you're a fan.
Absolutely love it. It's
So then what else did we say what you've been playing?
we've been playing a mixture. Dan and I kind of go all over. We played some covered packs. Alan Finley's products.
Right. We covered those. We covered those on the show and
Lone
play
Canuck.
tested too.
And we
behind on
played the latest Rally Point, which was all about Folks Grenadiers. So we played that all the way through, and then I did a blog post about that. That has been one change for me. I have, because I'm playing so much, I have not been able to do my normal Sunday blog.
Okay. And you have over 500 posts?
I'm 6 away from 900.
900 posts.
900.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I've slowed down a lot. I used to have a lot of readers that were every Monday, Grumble Jones, AAR, and the AARs take me about 6 to 7 hours to do.
Yeah, that's
so I've slacked off on that. The scenarios are still there. There's still a new scenario every month. Like the one that's in the March Madness pack, Harcoxy Assault. That was originally a Grumble Jones a couple years ago.
Okay.
And Dan and his team will sometimes say, "Hey, can you give us one?" And I say, "Yeah, this one fits what you're looking for." And then they play test it.
Yeah.
And make changes. Because obviously my stuff's not play tested, so it's
right. You're putting it out there.
It's flea collar time when you play my stuff.
Yeah.
So just be aware.
Well, fantastic. Do you have anything else you want to cover? Any updates?
No, sir. I'm tickled to death that you're here.
Well,
that's awesome.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
And it's good to be appreciated too.
You guys are.
Again, because you kind of know there's so much out there now too in terms of content that people can watch quality replays and other things out there on YouTube. It's crazy, but
and even just World War II sites, I have discovered so many great guys. And you were talking about microphones where these guys are basically doing then and now, right? So they're in Arnhem or Oosterbeek doing then and now, or they're in the Bulge area. Just fantastic stuff.
I did stumble upon something like that when I was researching going to Europe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Guys were like, I'm like, oh, that looks like fun to do.
Well, there's a guy that I would actually shout out. He's a World War II Wayfinder.
Okay. We'll put that.
He's awesome.
Up here, World War II Wayfinder.
Really yep.
And he does kind of, does he do black and white pictures of then and now kind of thing?
He's based in England. He's English. I think he served in the military. And so he also did the march of the Royal French Commandos, participated in the 80th when they marched from Oosterbeek or to the Pegasus Bridge.
Yeah.
Just amazing. So,
Yeah. And I don't think we talked about my trip to. Well, you heard the show.
Well, we didn't get a chance. I know you were going to Arnhem, but I haven't. You haven't said anything.
Been on the show briefly in the beginning, maybe with a few pictures. Yeah.
And in Budapest, I do recall
that. Yeah, it was cool because of the war damage still being there. So much. It was just amazing. And I just went on Reddit, and someone had posted all the boards of the different the different Arnhem bridges. Maps. I guess there's been like 3 now or 4.
Yeah. I want to say that's right.
And he's posted each one full view of the whole map. And then I was reminded how it's so different today because it was destroyed. And under the bridge, it's just all open area. So all those little houses we were fighting over in scenarios.
It really does hit you. We went to the Reichstag in 1985.
Okay,
and then went across Checkpoint Charlie. And there was still war. There were entire streets in parts of East Berlin that were still completely bombed out in 1985.
And that was, you were in 85. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was communist at that time, and when you go through Checkpoint Charlie, there at that time there was an East German guy with an MG42.
Yeah.
And he
for
just
real.
follows you, tracks you with that machine gun.
Yeah.
And never want that feeling again. Awful.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
fantastic experience to go over there and see that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So thank you again.
Thank you.
And we
Glad you're
will
here.
be in touch.
All right.
Well, that was enjoyable, Jeff. Link and drink to that one, huh?
Yep. I will say
And
that.
this show is brought to you by our sponsor,
Bounding Fire Productions.
Maker of the finest ASL products available on the market today.
Yes. And you can go to boundingfire.com to look at it. Don't take our word for it.
Don't.
Go to boundingfire.com, look for yourself,
Yeah, that's right.
fall in love, and, pull the trigger.
You know, you can't trust us.
Yeah.
So you got to go look for yourself.
And the world's not going to go on forever. Don't
No.
hesitate. Buy it. If your wife gives you a hard time, just say, Jeff and Dave told me to do it.
Yes,
Blame it
indeed.
on us. We can take it.
And now we'll finish the show
Yeah.
this quickly with an interview
With a vampire interview.
with the vampire.
Yeah. Interview with.
And no, it's going to be someone who gave us all these prizes we've been giving out over the last many shows. The man himself, never before interviewed, Matt Zajak.
Yeah, Matt Zajak.
Never
Looking
before
forward.
interviewed on this.
Thank you so much,
podcast.
Matt.
Here's Matt. All right. Hello, everybody. And I am still at March Madness for the, 8th interview. Got to get them while we're here. And today we have Matt Zajak with us. And it's the first time
we just talked about that.
We did just talk about that. And y'all have heard that on the show a lot because Matt had sent in a bunch of stuff to donate. And my favorite was, you did remember that I like the 3-punched piece of paper.
The blue sheets.
So Matt's the one that sent the stack of that I was so thrilled with. So, so yeah, we have all new to talk about, Matt. So then we got to start once again, or well, not once again, but as usual with your background.
Well, as you know, like we talked about earlier, I'm a fellow Chicagoan. Started gaming way back, when I was a kid. Picked some stuff up. Actually started kind of with used paperbacks because my mom would go to the grocery store. She would drop me off at the used paperback store next door. I would spend time picking stuff up, and that kind of generated my interest, particularly in military history.
Yeah.
And then I discovered war games, the old Avalon Hill classics, stuff like Flat Top and Midway and Blitzkrieg and all that. But then I guess pretty early as when Squad Leader came out, I picked up a copy of that, and that's kind of been my passion since. I've stayed with it all these years. I'm also very interested in ancient war games, mostly 15 millimeter scale stuff.
Oh,
Tabletop stuff.
Yeah, that's what I've got a lot of too.
Yeah. And then I do micro armor. So I have a tendency to do everything from tactical to operational and above with micro armor.
Yeah.
But yes, it's my one passion, the thing I will travel around the country for is ASL and tournaments. And I love coming to tournaments because you get to play more, different people than your usual club. And the people in the community, by and large, they're just fantastic people to sit down and talk to and have a friendly game with, and see how it goes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for sure. Now, since you were you in Schaumburg or Naperville?
I was in Schaumburg. Yeah. So I was born downtown, but my parents pretty early moved us out to Schaumburg, and ended up going to Schaumburg High, and then out of Schaumburg High. Went to the University of Illinois on an ROTC scholarship. And after that, spent 20 years in the Army as an Army engineer officer.
Cool.
Met my wife in the service. She was also an engineer officer. And we retired together back in 2010.
Okay, great.
So.
Now, where would you buy your gaming stuff in the Schaumburg area? Did you have to order?
God,
online,
to
or-
tell you, I have no recollection at
Yeah.
this point.
Wasn't Games Plus? Does that ring a bell down in Mount Prospect or anything?
It could have been. It could have been. It was probably mostly online.
Yeah.
Way back then. I mean, this is the late 70s, early 80s. We're kind of talking earlier how much technology has allowed people to connect. There we were, what, 45-minute drive from one another. Didn't know the Passel group existed.
Yeah, well, actually, too, though, I was in Westmont back in the late 70s, but by 85, I was up in Palatine, yeah.
Yeah.
And didn't even know Jeff yet either. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So with the technology today and the connectivity, you get to find out about where people live, see if they're local. I mean, you guys have done a great job on the show. I mean, you've brought up some really interesting characters. Not too long ago, you did a podcast. I think he was in Montana, and he
Yeah.
does a lot of solitaire stuff.
Yeah.
And he runs a bed and breakfast, I believe.
Yes.
So it's interesting to hear where people are from and what they're doing and how they're kind of engaging themselves with the system.
Yeah, and we can even reach now people who are not here today
Sure.
with the technology that you're talking about.
And international.
And international.
I've been fortunate to go to ASLAC several times, and I mean, if you look at the total time period, it's almost a 10-day tournament. And what I really like, in particular, is getting there early in the week before the Columbus Day weekend, because you get to play with the international guys and you get to meet them. You get to see some of those, scenario designers from over the pond, and it's just a great opportunity again to talk to people in the hobby and share a passion.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, so your background. Now, we met, you've been a listener for the show for a while.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, I listen to your show generally when I am driving over. I'm fortunate in the Houston area that there's a core group of guys. So I'll give a shout out to Mark Carter, Walter Erdley, and Jay Harms. We get together on a weekly basis. We usually do either really, really large scenarios or campaign games. So, we'll have a game running for months on end. We're in the middle of not Valor of the Guards, Red Factories CG now, CG1.
Okay, Red Factories.
Yes.
The re-release with them all together into
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Is that campaign game is unique to Red Factories?
There are some unique to Red Factories because that's where the Germans are trying to seize all of the metalworks factories.
Okay.
And so you've got the maps that's got the bombed out roofless buildings. So we're just kind of ending the first day of that now.
Okay.
And so like I said, I'm fortunate. I've got a group that I get together with. It's about an hour drive for me to go across the town to link up with them. But your podcasts fit in there perfectly.
Yeah, you can almost finish one of those slightly too long shows that we do.
Yep. And it helps kind of remind me of some rules every now and then.
Because we're reading them.
Because
we're reading them off the rule book. We're not actually recalling them ourselves.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, hopefully. It's good to know. And then so from here, well, not here, Schaumburg, you ended up in Texas, but you traveled in between?
Well, I didn't end up in Texas until after I retired from the service.
Okay.
And so at the time, my wife's family and extended family were down in the Houston area. Her dad worked for Shell Oil. My family was still up in Chicago, and it was a real quick decision on, I don't want to shovel snow, so we're going to go down to Houston. And what was intended to be just a couple of years stay until we kind of found our forever home.
Oh, yeah.
Due to some family health issues and things, turned into 10 years. And so, I had the opportunity there to make some really good friends. There's all sorts of gaming opportunities, whether it be ASL or whether it be other board games. The BattleTex convention just happened about a month and a half ago. That's a local board gaming convention.
Oh, okay.
And all sorts of miniatures players in the area as well.
Yeah.
So
What rules do you use for 15?
for the ancients,
I'm curious.
primarily now I use Art de la Gore.
Okay, I don't know that one.
Okay.
You'd recommend that?
I'd highly recommend it. It's a French set of rules. I think it's on its second or third revision. But the nice thing about it is it's not one of these rule sets where you have to go out and buy separate army list books or everything. Everything is self-contained. It's a point-based system, but it's very flexible, and so you can do multiplayer games with it, or there's a tournament scene throughout the world. So if you go to what's the big annual Historicon?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you'll always see guys there playing in the tournament style for it.
Okay.
And it's a system that allows you to have enough table space with your miniatures that you can actually do maneuvers. So it's not one of these game systems where you've got units that go from end to end and you're just kind of moving in. Exactly.
Hope you get a breakthrough somewhere.
Yeah, it's not like a Flames of War or a Field of Glory where you've got big blocks and you're just kind of slowly going forward and resolving the combat. There's plenty of space to do maneuver.
Yeah, I'm still using Might of Arms when I play. We have not been playing it a lot lately, but I do want to do it more, especially now that I've retired too and have more time.
Yes.
I do have a couple friends that will do that. Did you paint your own armies too?
So I will paint 6mm micro armor, but my 15mm stuff I have always sent out primarily to a Ukrainian company by the name of Old Guard Painters.
Okay.
And they do a phenomenal job. They have literally museum quality work that they do.
Oh yeah, mine's not that quality.
Yeah, and then there's another company in Sri Lanka, Fernando Enterprises, that I'll send stuff to, and they do good work. Not quite museum level, but still very, very well done.
Yeah, it can be. I did a lot of that, like watching TV with my wife, painting and
in fact, Fernando does a lot of their forte, if you will, their expertise really is the fantasy stuff.
Okay.
And so they'll send out emails, once a quarter of what they've done, and their work is just stunning.
Amazing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great,
well beyond anything I have the time or patience to try to do.
Yeah, I think on the show I talked about going to Gen Con with Jeff and putting in a miniature I painted. It would look pretty good, a big one, And so, and then these people showed up later and put theirs in, and I was like, oh, I should take it out of there. And I asked the lady, how long did you put in on that? She goes it was like 34 hours on one model.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I did it in 3 hours. I'm not.
Everything is a time cost, trade off. I've been fortunate that I've been able to fund painting as opposed to having to sit down and do it myself, and that gives me more time to actually play games.
Yes, so. Right. And so then your tournament scenes, you've been going to which different ones did you say?
I've been to March Madness now several times. In fact, I won it one year. I think that in the North Texas Shootout are the only tournament wins I've ever had. Of course, Rick Reinish is here. I'm sure you've talked to him already.
We did, yeah.
He puts on the fantastic, Texas team tournament in June. Highly recommend that. Players come from all over the country. It's usually 60 to 80 people, so it's a good size, a good mix of skill levels. New players to the really advanced guys as well. Been out to Oktoberfest a couple of times. The North Carolina tournament, is it Bitter Ender?
Yeah,
maybe.
I think so.
I think it's Bitter Ender. Even though I've been so close to Jim Burris in St. Louis, I have yet to make it out to his tournament. That's high on my list.
Yeah, me too now.
And I'd actually like to get up to Winter Offensive eventually too.
Yeah,
but
I have not been there.
But yeah, so it's one great thing within the U.S. is you've got a robust tournament scene.
Yeah. And what's your favorite kind of ASL you're playing now? What's got your interest? Anything in particular?
Oh, interesting question. I've always had a penchant for kind of early war, where the armor isn't so overpowering that it's one shot, one kill. And unless you're a German with a Panzerfaust, you really don't have a way to counter it. We were just finished up a Japanese scenario, an old Windy City War Games scenario, Stand and Die, classic that I'd never had a chance to play, which, by the way, is another reason I love to go to tournaments is you can bring a list of stuff that you're really interested in, and almost, probably 75% of the time, you're going to find someone there that wants to play the same too. But yeah, so the earlier war stuff where tanks aren't so overpowering, you got to be careful because a machine gun can damage them, which I
watched
happen in this game.
I watched some of them playing today. Who were you playing with today?
Randy Shorts.
Randy Shorts.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
And,
great player. Yep. Fun guy. Really good, relaxed player.
Yeah.
So,
and I watched them trying their light machine guns on their lightly armored vehicles, and so it was right. It took. You never know. You might get it. You might not. It's not, like you were saying, overpowering.
Yeah.
Firepower.
You can generally get the hit, but then I think throughout the entire game, the kill number was either a 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And I think probably half of my armor by the end of the game had at least been stunned, if not just completely destroyed.
Yeah, and it was for points, CVP. So.
It was for CVP and building location. Yeah. So yeah, it's a good tight scenario. It's very well rated on Roar. And it's been around for a long time.
A long time.
Yep.
That was back when I first went to the Windy City
Mm-hmm.
ASL Open, and they were still a group. I hadn't been part of it, being in the suburbs and then not being into that at that point. But
and that reminds me of the ASL Open in Chicago. I've been there a few times as well. Great tournament. Not necessarily a huge tournament, but you can always find guys there who are willing to sit down, chat. That's one of the other things I love about ASL is, unlike a lot of miniature tournament games, the ASL community is just as interested in having an enjoyable game as they are with winning. And so very, very few people, if they lose, are going to stomp off or throw dice or do something like that. You just don't find those people in the ASL community. And generally, if you do find them, they don't stay around very long.
Yeah. I think I only had one questionable encounter in a tournament.
Yeah.
Someone I didn't know.
Yep.
And then are you keeping up on buying the products?
I am. Again, I've been kind of fortunate through the years. I've been able to collect almost everything. I'm kind of, what's the word? Anal about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's awesome.
The only thing that I haven't kept up with is the critical hit kind of stuff. Not going to badmouth them. When they started re-releasing products for the third or fourth time, it got to be a little bit too much.
And I'm not even that into the re-releases from MMP even.
Sure.
It's like, well, there's so much other new stuff. Yeah, they've added something, but
right.
I could.
And there's enough stuff out there. I mean, and if you integrate this stuff from overseas, like the Friendly Fire packs, the LeFranc Tour stuff, I mean, fantastic stuff the European guys are putting out. Advancing Fire, their products, beautiful products. That it starts adding up pretty quickly. And we all have spouses that we're somewhat accountable to, and we've all got kind of like budgets we need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and when you say anal, you probably notice I like to try and play through everything in a pack. Before moving on. I'm trying to finish that Budapest and got about 4 left in that, and then. I'm afraid to start the new Mannerheim Cross because there's 44 scenarios.
I just bought a copy of that from, Rick Reinish was here. He had a few copies, and so save a few bucks on shipping, even though we're both in Texas.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a gorgeous pack. Bounding Fire Productions. I've been fortunate to do some work with them in the past, Poland in Flames in particular.
Which I want to get to too.
Yes, but that, like Mannerheim Cross, has got 50 scenarios in it. So at some point you might have to start picking and choosing
I have to,
out of a pack.
You're right. You're absolutely right, because I'm not going to be on the earth long enough to do it the other way.
To play
So-
everything, yes. But I am impressed that you've kept your list of however many thousand, plus scenarios now
I think I'm on 3,000.
on
I
3,000.
think like
Yeah,
now.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is really.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I mean, how many hours would you imagine that is? I mean, 3 or 4 hours per game, three.
Yeah.
That's
And when I stand
15,000
accountable
hours.
accountable before God, I don't want to talk about that. I'm talking
But,
about my service time.
but you were bringing joy to other players. You were
Well,
sharing knowledge with them. So I can't see you getting a hit on that.
And,
you
actually,
might interest St. Peter in a game.
and actually, yeah, my wife has enjoyed the communal playing of even the role playing games too, and everything in the clubs
Sure,
at our house, because she knows some of these spouses don't get out
sure.
as much.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
wives would
they're
even
not
like
as
them to.
supportive.
They're like, yeah, I wish my husband would go out a little more and have more friends.
Mhm.
Well, I'll be the opportunity to come and do that.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife, I gotta give her credit. She's very understanding, not only of the financial side and acquiring products, but the flexibility to come to tournaments.
Yeah.
We are, our child, if you will, is a 80-pound Great Pyrenees by the name of Luna.
Oh wow.
So we normally travel around with her, but now she's at home back in Houston with her, and they're kind of, enjoying their time together.
Yeah.
My wife enjoys games, not necessarily the World War II or military history stuff, but things like Settlers of Catan, card games of all types. So we just about every morning with breakfast, we'll play something to kind of start the day up
Oh,
and
nice.
kind of wake up, and then and so she's not really into the going to tournaments or anything or going into the conventions.
Yeah.
But she likes to play with friends.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, and it can also help you get to know your neighbors too on those kind of games.
exactly. Yeah. In fact, we made some really good friends on our block with quarterly game nights.
Yes.
And so,
In fact, we're trying to set one up now
mhm.
with our neighbors too.
Nice.
Yeah. And then, so how about this tournament? Are you doing okay? Or
Yeah, I've got no complaints. I went 2 for 2 yesterday. I've only played the one that you were watching earlier today. I lost that one, so I'm still 2-1. So still in the running. We'll see what happens with tonight's game, and whether tomorrow is just a one-off for fun or tomorrow I've actually got to stress a little bit.
Yeah.
So
well, that's a pretty good record, and yeah, I think you were asking me about playing, and that my wife and I were here. We were like, yeah, okay, that explains it. But to do all those games in a row is taxing mentally, and so you probably got better brain power than I have to do that still.
I don't know. You're the one that's put the podcast together and
Well,
kept it running for so long. So,
Yeah, and this is becoming a long day here too. I'm kind of like, oh man, another interview,
mhm.
but it's gonna make the rest of the half year go easy.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. You've got all sorts of material.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I gotta do rules. No, I don't. I got another interview we haven't even got to yet.
Yeah,
So
a box art,
Yeah.
a box art review thrown on top of an
Yep.
interview.
that's a show.
Good to go.
And it's just so good to get to know everybody too, like this. But I would like to be at maybe the next tournament and have an extra day and play the odd person out.
Sure.
That would be convenient.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd love to sit down with you
There's
for a
an odd
game.
person out, yeah.
You are you're famous. As I said,
Well, no,
I
all our guests are famous. That's
well, that's a reason. Earlier, I walked up to Dave and I've got a set of his OBA cards, the 2 half
Oh, yeah.
squads OBA cards, and I asked him, "Hey, will you please sign your Joker face card for me? Because when I pass away and my wife finds that in our estate, that's going to set her up for life."
Yeah, and we are thinking about our estates more often than we used to. aren't
Than we used to. That is
for
a fact.
sure. Yeah, and leaving a great legacy. And yeah. So, well, before we say goodbye, do you have anything else you'd like to share with the listeners?
Hey, I'd just like to put a shout out for the Ponyri model that's coming out.
Oh yeah.
As you guys, if you read Journal 15, you know that I was involved with. I've been fortunate to go to Russia and some other European World War II
Oh,
battlefields.
you got to tell us a lot about that.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
We're gonna have on the other designer,
Pete Shelley?
the famous one. Yeah.
Okay.
Pete Schelling. He promised an interview remote when the game comes out.
Yeah.
It's not out yet, right?
It's not out yet.
Okay.
There's a write-up in Journal 15 about it
Okay. I
and
didn't
about the
get
development
15 yet.
process.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then, so yeah, tell us what you can
Sure.
and go another
Sure.
10 minutes.
So as with most of these products, there's been a very long development time period, and I mean they all start as a work of passion, from a few individuals, and then eventually others get pulled in. Well, I found out about this about a year or two, maybe after having gone to the Kursk region in 2013. I travel with an international group every other year. We pick a battlefield, generally in Europe. We actually started as a battlefields in Russia organization.
Okay.
But of course, with the political situation the way it's been for the last 7, 8, 9 years, we've kind of shifted into other places in Europe. But in 2013, we were there for the 70th anniversary of Kursk.
Wow.
We've been fortunate. We have some members of our group, for example, Jason Mark, very well-known author, expert on the Eastern Front, Stalingrad in particular. And because of that, we've been fortunate that we can reach out to local authors and other experts. And so Valerie Zamulin, who wrote the book Demolishing the Myth, did a couple of follow-on works, and at the time was also the director of the Kursk Museum, agreed to meet with us and walk us through the battlefield for a few days. So part of the area we spent time in was the Ponyri area, and the train station, the commanding heights or hills in the case for the terrain out there. And so another individual by the name of Marty Nevshamal was there with us. His work turned into the book Objective Ponyri.
Okay.
And so the book Objective Ponyri and our on-the-ground experience, we were able to integrate that with the work that Pete Schelling and the other designers were doing into the product. A couple of terrain adjustments. There's only so much you can kind of tell from aerial photos, but getting on the ground really gives you a good perspective. And the other piece is you kind of have a then and now approach as well, particularly to the end of the rules and kind of talking about the impact and do people remember, what is still visible today. So it was a really rewarding project to work in, and I believe when the product comes out, I'll have 2 scenarios that I designed in there.
Okay.
And that'll actually be the first official MMP scenarios that I'll have my name on. So
All right.
I'm looking forward to that.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
I finally got a counter because I play tested Hakapali.
Oh, very nice. Nice. Yeah, I think I've got a 8-1,
You're somewhere.
an 8-1 Russian coming out in Ponyri as well.
Oh, it'll be coming out. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
All
my
right.
background is Polish and Czech, and I was like, well, really don't feel comfortable about going to the German side counter, so let me go to the Russian
Yeah.
side.
Yeah. And of course, mine, they had to make Klein in to be, because it's too long to fit.
Too
they
long
keep
to fit.
saying, but yeah, good stuff. Yeah, well, that's a lot. So,
So
anything else about that?
well, I was going to ask you.
Ponyri.
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 P-O-N. It's like Ponyri.
Okay.
Ponyri.
Yeah, I make it more difficult than it is, don't
Pretty,
I? Like
pretty,
usual.
pretty straightforward. And again, I've heard you guys on your podcast many times. I have no rationale as to why MMP hasn't embraced you guys.
Oh,
Uh,
well, although remember they did so when they released Saint Mary Glees, we did have Perion and the guy that worked on that. They did come out.
Oh, nice. Okay,
So-
good. So
so, yeah.
they're starting to recognize you,
Yeah.
but are they Are they actually now funneling product to you?
No.
Okay, well, there's that next step to get to. So, and I know
And I
there's-
think they donate product to or tournaments
oh,
sometimes,
they do,
don't they?
they do, sure.
Mhm.
So what about and here's one that'll go way back in time, because I recall in your earlier podcasts you were kind of making references to that individual that has an ASL product site who refused to include you as an
Yes.
ASL resource.
He's still the one that
Should we-
name that should not be mentioned.
Should we not mention him?
Yeah.
Okay, the individual that starts with a P.
No, we can. We can. What is his name again?
Pikavich.
Yeah, Mark.
So
And he was on the show. And he's keeping up on his site too.
yeah.
I think,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah. And with the wealth of information that's
Yeah.
coming out, that's hard to do.
Yeah, it is. So thank you, Mark.
Yeah, I know, and I know there used to be the Chronology of War, which was a
Oh,
great product
Yeah.
that was kept by just a player, somebody who loved to do it. But I know that died a few years ago,
Okay.
and I can't imagine trying to keep up with it now,
No.
listing every scenario and every product that comes out.
Well, yeah, and the chronology war was every scenario in order historically.
You could
right?
sort it, yeah, you could sort it by date, you could sort
Oh.
it by nationality. It was an Excel spreadsheet, so you could
okay.
manipulate it however you want.
Yeah, when they printed something like that in the journals or old annuals,
Yes,
it was the scenarios in order
yes.
when they would fit on a page.
When they would fit on a page. Yep. And I do like, one of the great things for learning different rules that they used to do that I'm not sure that I've really necessarily seen it recently is, they would have a focus on a rule and they'd have a list of 8 or 10 scenarios, like for example,
yeah.
cavalry.
Mhm.
And they'd have a list of scenarios you could go find and you could practice those rules. I'm not sure I've necessarily seen that recently, but for whatever it's worth, MMP, if you guys wanted to include that.
Yeah, it could be more work to do, but it was cool. I like that also. Yeah, it's great. Well, anything else then?
No, I think that probably covers it. I'm sure we burned up enough
right.
time. So even with
Well,
you editing out.
Yeah, it'd be good. It's
But
great,
hey,
great
it was a
man.
pleasure.
Finally, well, I did meet you before, but to finally
To-
talk to you on the show.
And to sit down and, I can add this now as another checklist off of
right.
my ASL accomplishments to do. Sit down with the famous, at least one half of the 2 half squats. So, all right.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Dave.
And good luck on tomorrow. Oh,
Thank you.
tonight and tomorrow.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Call the show.
That's great. Those were great interviews. Really like hearing from those guys.
Yep.
I just love that we get to interview all of these people. Well, and you did this last group of interviews, and it's just great hearing from the players.
It is. And there's like 5 or 6 more coming. So
Oh, just from March Madness?
just from March Madness,
Fantastic.
You get 30 people in the room there, and everyone's got a great story.
Yeah, that's great.
So they'll be coming up later. In the meantime, Jeff, remember to
Roll
roll
low.
low and
Rally well,
but
not when you're playing us.
all right.
Bye, everybody.
Blah, 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 blah.
Love you so much. Love you. Peace.
He loves you, but I'm a little bit mad at you right now.
Don't carry a grudge, Dave. It's not a good thing.
That's right. I have to forgive. Forgiveness.
Forgive.
That was the shocking news.
Clink and drink.
Dave's mad at the listeners.